Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Roundup. It's your host, Bertram Lansico. If we are a new connection, it's a pleasure to connect with you. And we do these roundups on Wednesdays. So, Bertram, what is a roundup? So, I've been involved in revenue cycle for close to 15 years. Most of my experience has been on the staffing or the recruitment of individuals that would have either a revenue cycle, healthcare IT, or just more of a healthcare background. It took me 3.5 years to get placed as a recruiter. And why does it take 3.5 years to get placed for a job that nobody wants and nobody goes to school for? That probably for another time. But I came together with some of the best and the brightest within our industry, and I thought if I have all these connections, but we just have a hard time meeting. We're going to conferences, we're speaking at conferences, but our industry tends to be very segmented, not just for the two major associations, but also just as to the industry. And what I mean by that is, so you're going to have, let's say, coders that don't really get an opportunity to go to conferences or the approval to go to conferences. And the ones that go, it tends to be only very regionalized. So they can't even participate within the activities and the networking functions at those conferences. You're also going to have that a lot of money is being pulled out of revenue cycle. A lot of the decisions are not being made at the C-suite or those CFOs, for example, those vice presidents. They used to be made more at the HRM director. The HRM director used to sign the contracts, get the vendors on board, and go through the whole process, go to the shows. A lot of them, even if the show or the conference isn't in their city, sometimes they're so overwhelmed they can't even get a day to even go to the conference. So I thought, what can we do that can be regularly scheduled, right? Anyone can attend, because sometimes it can be expensive to go to these conferences. And we can just have it on a more regular basis, so regular attend, easy to get to, and you don't just have to be a decision maker or have approval. What if you're in between jobs and opportunities? So I came up with this idea. Why don't we just have something called a roundup? We can all come together, learn more about revenue cycle, learn who some of the subject matter experts are within our space. We have a great one for you today, John, as well as share jobs and opportunities. I run a staffing and recruiting agency. I would say a lot more of our solutions are above staffing, because staffing is just bodies. And sometimes the issues tend to be more than just having the right staffing in place, but utilizing them correctly, auditing, managing, and having a compliance plan in place. And here we are. So if this is the first time for you joining, say hi, say what's up, tell us how warm or cold it is as to wherever you are. And yeah, I'm definitely really excited about today's episode. So there it is. So there's a banner. Feel free to say hi and share with us where you're from. And just as a disclaimer, the streaming platform that we're using is fantastic. It can go to multiple streams, but unfortunately, not all of your comments are going to go through. So I'm going to toggle between LinkedIn as well as the streaming platform to make sure I get most of your comments or questions for myself or today's speaker. Okay. So we have Jennifer. You are a regular attendee to our lives. Thank you so much. Hi, how are you doing? Christy, you as well. Good morning. Good morning. We have Carmen from Texas. I believe we are a relatively newer connection or not. Hello, hello. We have Dawn here. Christy says it's the best idea ever. Thank you so much. And Don says it's warm in South Carolina. So if you're just joining us, hello, thank you for joining. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. We have some fantastic news, because as to the roundups, one of our major missions is to help more and more individuals get hired. And on a recent live stream that I was doing, somebody shared with us that she actually got hired for an opportunity. Now, we know that some of the jobs and opportunities that we will share are some of the things that you're going to learn during our roundups may not be applicable, meaning like you heard it on the roundup, you're able to apply it, and you're able to get hired. We understand that. But a lot of folks have even just gotten more inspiration or better informed about our industry, making them better or have more information to interview. Like think about it. Let's say you're interviewing for a coding position, right? Wouldn't it be fantastic if you knew about how coding, auditing, compliance, and that whole system works? So when you're going to interview, you're like, hey, what about your compliance plan? What about your audit scores? What about these? It gives you more knowledge that you go into the interview more knowledgeable, right? Wiser than maybe some other folks that don't have or not able to have some of those conversations. And believe me, I am not a coder, right? I've never coded a day in my life. I haven't even looked at a medical chart. I've seen an encoder. I played with one for a little bit. We had one in the office, but guess what? I have not coded, right? But I have been able to have enough conversations and talking to my compliance team and the coders that we do have on staff. I get to learn a lot more. Also, talking to the C-suite and learning a lot more about their pains and their problems, I can have very decent conversations and conversations that I will learn from how my job and my role and my team's roles and jobs affect those health systems. So I can have a really good interview, right? I'm not saying it's going to land me the job, but just think about it as gaining more expertise so you can be better knowledgeable about our field. Because we all realize, even though coding tends to be the big thing that we're all talking about, it's a lot more than coding. That's why they call it revenue cycle. They don't call it the medical coding industry. It starts at registration, the patient financial services, onboarding, enrollment for the doctors, making sure that they're with the payers. If it's not direct, single payer by the, let's say the insured or the uninsured, to the coding, of course, to making sure it has the right documentation, going all the way out to collections, discharge, and the follow-up, right? Like there's a lot that goes into that process. Even the steps that I mentioned is not the whole of revenue cycle. And of course, guess what? It's a cycle. It comes back. So you had your blood work done last year, let's say last year for your physical. Here comes again. How does your blood work compare to last year? Also comparing things like blood types if people are not, let's say, sharing insurance information because their friend, their cousin from overseas came in and they have a serious condition, but they don't have insurance. Some people haven't even shared the information. So just recognizing the blood types may be different might be a big red flag for the clinical or non-clinical staff to see that there's a flag here, like what's going on. Are people able to change their blood type? There's so many different things that I have learned from having conversations like this. So the mission as to the Roundup is to help more and more people get hired for opportunities, but also just to help all of us, including myself, become more knowledgeable. Okay, here we go. So Chrissy says it is cold in Arkansas. Kathy said it's hello, good afternoon from Ohio. And Michelle is asking Don as to where you are from. Hey, fantastic thing about the Roundup is that since it's on LinkedIn, any comment you make is going to be saved on the event page. Nice thing about that, if there's somebody that you want to connect with, let's say it's an employer or recruiters and hiring managers, you want to like get some of these people. I've seen a inpatient coder post a resume, a profi coder, HCC coder, or somebody's open for an opportunity. You're able to then go back and message that person because all of these are saved. All of these recordings are also recorded live on LinkedIn as well as Renown CEO, our YouTube channel. So you go to our YouTube channel, all of our lives are recorded there, even the career ones we do on Mondays. So if you want to catch it, let's say listen to it while you're working out or doing whatever you have to do, you're able to do it there as well. Okay, fantastic. And we're going to moving forward. Today, we're going to learn more about how John Piaskowski, I believe I just butchered that, my apologies, got into medical coding, and if males should consider career opportunities in revenue cycle. We're going to have a very healthy conversation. We're not male bashing or female bashing. We're just having a very realistic conversation that, of course, there are not a lot of males within revenue cycle. And even when I was going to school, way back when, a lot of folks were saying, well, hey, there is a shortage in nursing. So, let's say being a minority or being a male as well, you should consider things like nursing or going on the clinical side of things. And I'm like, no, I'm more on the business side. Okay, I don't want to see anything, any blood, any liquids. No, that's enough. Like I just go to the bathroom and that's it. So I went on my path, but I do remember some of the males within my space, they went into nursing and they made actually really good money because of what, the differences within what males are able to do. But I don't even think they were even aware of the opportunities within revenue cycle. So we're gonna talk about John today, his story, and how he got started. Okay, and we're also going to have an opportunity at any time. If you're open for opportunities, feel free to tell us who you are, where you're from, and how somebody can get in touch with you and what type of position you're looking for. I will usually save a place towards the end. So if you want to comment or just share your background and what you're looking for, towards the end of the live today, I'm going to go ahead and pop up, and that can allow employers or recruiters to reach out to you. Okay. All right. So we have some watchers from YouTube. This is awesome. So we have Elizabeth says, hi, hope you're doing well. I am. Hope you're doing well yourself. And Elizabeth from North Carolina. So how come there aren't more men in revenue cycle? That's the thing. I mean, and I was just talking to John, so he may really be able to share some insight as to that. We have Sonio from Chicago, and for some reason it's showing as a LinkedIn user. I don't know what's going on, but we all know who you are. You're actually one of our speakers on one of the last roundups. And as I said, if you haven't seen it, you can go to our page, but also go to YouTube. That's probably the best way that for you to find it. And the nice thing about that, you can skip, you can go forward to back, you can even listen to it while in your car working out and doing all those things. Okay. And we have another person from North Carolina. So we have, yeah, definitely a lot of connections from North Carolina, and Sharon from Texas. And as I mentioned, not all the comments for some reason or another come through. I'm going to go on the event page itself and see if we have anyone else. I see Refka commented, "Hi everyone." Sorry about that. Hi everyone. Refka, it's going to be nice to see you. You're actually a speaker coming up here very soon. We have Sharon from Texas. Yep, and those all the comments I see so far. Okay, fantastic. All right, let's go. So today I'd like to introduce our guest and the speaker. So we're going to be having John speak with us. He's a surgical auditor from Capitol Health in New Jersey. He serves as a contract auditor with AAPC, and he also serves on one of their panels or special boards. So yeah, he was just explaining to me that they have employees of AAPC, but they also would contract subject matter experts within their dedicated fields and the subject matter expertise to help them when they're, let's say, making or proctoring special exams, content, or educational materials that the AAPC can then go share with their members. Okay, so John and I first connected way back, way back, and I'm talking about like I was looking at him or maybe even testing him to become a coder for our organization. But I remember very quickly he went from that to the next level, and that's what I love. That's why I love to applaud. And it's not saying that you cannot, let's say, be a coder and just code and be very happy within your coding. But I also love to see that people are striving and going to the next level. You know, I could have stayed a recruiter at my organization, you know, top performer, making decent money. But I thought, what else can I do? Can I also do that on the IT space? Can I do it for a bigger company? Can I do it from the bottom up, right? And now starting all over again, can I, with no, let's say, real investment, without no like major like supporter, right, or big clients, can I start a staffing agency from the bottom? And that's what we've been doing for the last 4 or so years, to now finally get into the point of signing on more clients, getting our own coders to get on board. There's even a job offer I have to provide right after this call to somebody to join our organization, because we just received approval to bring them on board, and they're going to be a fantastic match. You know, I'm all about the journey. And that's why I love to have folks share with us, because you know what? It's actually learning about someone's journey. We're able to relate. It comes true to heart. Like they're telling you directly from their experience. And you can possibly realize that, yes, maybe it's not as easy as I thought it was, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible. Okay. So he's a multi-specialty subject matter expert, and he's actively involved in the differential coding services and the coding cheerleader sessions. So John usually likes to do those on Monday evenings. I was a panelist or a speaker on one talking about how folks can get more involved or entry-level jobs within medical coding. So feel free to connect with him and watch any of those former lives that he has as well. Okay, so John excels in surgical coding and coder education and auditing across various specialties. So we can talk about this forever, but why don't we just talk to the man himself? John, welcome to the Roundup. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How is everybody out there in Mr. B land?
John, you threw me under the bus the other day on live. You're like, yeah, you probably saw Bertram on live, you know, like, you know, he posts a lot kind of thing, and that's okay. But I realized, though, we are probably the few males that are even within revenue cycle that post on a regular basis, or even would have like our face on a post, right? I've invited recruiters, salespeople, and they're like, you know, because within their space, they don't really have to get on camera to make good money and to do their jobs. I feel like they're shortchanging themselves, but you know what? That's okay. You know, we're gonna be here to lead from examples. So John, you joined us today. Thank you so much. And let's first talk about your journey prior to medical coding and working within revenue cycle. What were you doing before you got started within revenue cycle?
So I spent a good portion of time in Daytona Beach, Florida. Heavy tourism industry. If you don't work in a restaurant, you work in a hotel. If you don't work in a hotel, you work in a restaurant. I was fortunate enough to work a lot of time in a restaurant, but then I went to college for economics. I wanted to get out of the restaurant industry, or at least into management. So I actually studied agricultural economics. So this is not anywhere near my original intent to be a coder. I worked for NASCAR for a brief period in Florida before I moved up to New Jersey. So my wife had a baby, and we wanted to be closer to her family in New Jersey. So when I left NASCAR and moved up here, there was nowhere else I could work. It's not like I can transfer my job because the nearest track was like 80 miles away. So I had to pick up a new area, and because of my expertise is all like administrative and clerical and really nothing really specific, I was recommended to take up coding and billing. So, yeah, I'm not more like, yeah, I'll do it. Why not? I'm not one to say, well, I don't know. I just like, yep, let's do this. So I signed up, finished the 9-month program.
Okay.
And that would have been just a routine thing. But on day one of the program, and I'm not going to drop names because, I don't want to, I don't want to get the person in trouble, but just kind of bad series of events on the first day. And the person who was one of the teachers pulled me aside and said, you still have time to back out. You can still get a refund on your student loans. You can still turn in all your books and not have to owe any money back. I'm like, well, why would I do that? I spent all this time applying, and I drove, half hour to get here. I'm not going to quit on day one. And she said, well, as a man, you're never going to find a job. All the hiring managers are women. They only want to work with women, and you're never going to make anything of this. And literally, I don't know, Bertram, if you can bleep me out. The next words out of my mouth were, "The hell you say," but the whole Daytona came back in like a flood. The floodgates open, and I said, no, y'all not let me out here like that. I'm gonna finish this program.
Wow.
And I made a point. When I graduated, there was about maybe 30 kids in the program, and I made a point. Once we got through the program and graduated, and had to go out and actually find our first job, because the program had there's a thing in New Jersey where any kind of program for any kind of certificate, that school has to guarantee that 9% of the students have employment within a month of graduating.
Wow.
I'm not going to be one of that 10% doesn't find a job. I made a point to be the first one. So I was putting foot to pavement, going door to door like every single day, finding a hospital, walking from every office around that hospital and hitting every clinic, dropping off a resume until I found work. I'm not going to be just waiting around for people to call me. I'm going to them. And that's a whole different story as it is now. Like, that's not the way to do it now. But back, 15 years ago, that was kind of the end of that era. And actually did work in an office for a good maybe 6 months until I found something a little more stable. But I was an AR clerk. Apparently, I walked into one office and I was handing out resumes, and I went in one office and I didn't make it to the elevator to go up to the next floor before somebody chased me down and pulled me aside and said, "Well, here's your desk." Right time, like right place, right time. Person that morning left, and then just had a spot to fill. So that was me.
John, I gotta pause you there for a second. Ladies and gentlemen, and Vanessa has said it best. So Vanessa in the comments said, "Holy moly, John, so sorry you experienced that discrimination, and you have made a point, but you are an inspiration." And this is the thing. One of the things I've realized about all of our journeys and speakers here on the Roundup is that it usually is not as easy as we would have thought it was. And we're not talking about the coding, right? Or subject matter expertise. Like for me, the recruiting wasn't hard. It was the networking and getting a job. For you, it was that first, let's just say, discrimination, or it was somebody singling you out instead of encouraging you. Yeah, we should have more males that apply for jobs and are interested in revenue cycle versus, no, you're never going to find a job because females don't work with men. I mean, what kind of nonsense is that? From my experience, it's actually opposite. you know what? I would love a male perspective in our office every once in a while.
Yeah.
Like we're all like here, but why don't like just have like I used to be that one person. I was on a team of 5 women, right? And it was perfectly fine. And they hired more of them, and that was fine. And then they hired some males. I was like, okay, and it was fine. But it's like I feel that within a multicultural, right, and a multi-gender team, you're gonna have I mean, the revenue shows that actually those teams perform better and more profitable for organizations, right? But for that person to essentially think and dictate your future from their experience is a very sad happening. Also, you have to remember how visions work, ladies and gentlemen, because you see yourself, let's say, as a coder or working with the revenue cycle, the CEO of a company one day. It doesn't mean that your parents, your teachers, or anyone that you're going to come across or decision makers that you share your dream or your goals to be are going to see it for you. We also realize that these people have also, many of them have given up on their dreams. So are we expecting somebody that gave up on their dream to cheer us on for ours? I mean, sometimes parents do it, right? They're like, hey, you know what? I couldn't be a baseball player because I didn't get the opportunity, but you know what? I'm still going to drive my kids to the baseball teams and put them out on those and get them all the special cleats. I'm going to work extra hours so they can afford to go to the practices and stuff. Sometimes the parents can do it, but also sometimes parents don't do it. And these are the ones that gave birth and were supposed to raise us and help us become the people that they were supposed to be. I also faced very big discrimination when I decided to be a recruiter. And my manager at the time told me, Bertram, you will not be a recruiter. Straight to my face with her finger like this, I remember. And I'm telling you, that night I was crushed. I couldn't even go home because my girlfriend, wife now at the time, was like, something's wrong. But when she came to the workplace and saw my job and what I was doing, she's like, yep, you know what? You need to get a new job. And I'm like, I'm not just going to go get any job. I need to become a recruiter. And with my first year and with the performance that I did, I realized that you're meant to do well and good things. It doesn't mean that people are going to see it for you.
Yeah.
So Vanessa, 1 second, John. Vanessa has also commented, so agreed. The way through any discrimination is being curious about your differences. We are all better when we can learn from each other. And thank you for this conversation. Yeah. And you know what? It doesn't mean that everyone's going to discriminate as well, so, but facing that, it doesn't mean that you can't be successful and get that first job. Wow.
Yeah. And, I use that. I'm the kind of person, like, I put a positive spin on things. So I take any experience, can either go south or go north. So, like, I call it negative motivation. Like, that one conversation I had with that teacher was like, okay, and now I really know what I want to do with the rest of my life. I want to throw dirt in your face anytime I'm successful. That's how it is. Like, you can't let that mentality drag you down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want to do it. And when you do it and you do perform and you are successful, I think it's like there's an added index to that, like a
Correct.
not index. I want to say multiplier. Like, it just makes it so much better when you're successful after you overcome that. I don't want to say like what's overcome adversity or overcome an obstacle. Like
Yes,
you,
correct.
but that's what you need to do. Like, if you really have goals in mind, you really want to do them. These are minor things to overcome.
Correct.
Well,
Correct.
I worked for a hospital. One of the first roles I had was at a heart and lung hospital. Great facility.
Mm-hmm.
It was located near an Army base and with a lot of Army wives there. Again, obstacle number 2. Now I'm in a working environment where I now need to work with a team, of as the outsider coming in, and it wasn't, and I was actually afraid, like, how am I going to make this work? They've all been here for 30, 40 years. And, it's been an all female team. Like, how do I adapt? Well, you adapt. That's the thing. Like, there's really no real clear answer to that,
Correct.
but you do need to do. And I got the understanding is I don't want to see myself as a male versus female.
Correct.
I'm employee number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I am here to code, and we're going to code together, and we're going to,
Correct.
like your job impacts mine impact yours, but my maleness doesn't affect you, our relationship, and I
Correct.
can't think that way. That's the thing. Like, don't go and say, well, I'm some kind of, I want to say novelty. You're not a novelty. You are a certified person with an expertise, and you're working toward a higher level of expertise, and that's how you need to see yourself. Once you get into that mentality, then it's always going to be an upward fight for you.
Yes.
You have to perform, because if you don't, you're less than par. That's not the mentality. That's going to cause so much internal. That's just going to cause like an imaginary barrier that you fight for every day.
Correct.
To oversee, and that's how. Eventually, I got over that. I'm just John. I'm just, I'm a coder.
There you go.
Like, I don't even look at it. There was an article the APC did where I interviewed with them for about 4 years ago about men and coding.
Mm-hmm.
Even then, I said, I don't see a difference. There was that big looming fear of it, but I didn't see it as bad as they said it would be.
Yeah.
It's nothing to really concern about.
There you go. There you
a
go.
lot of men and coders that are very successful. We have Gabriel Ponte, Omar Monet. We have a lot of them out there that do make names themselves, and
correct.
It's not because they're men. It's because they know what they're talking about.
Correct. Yep. I totally agree. And for me, one of the things I just realized, like, you got to realize the differences, but realize where you can collaborate. And in my office, sometimes the ladies like to have coffee time, and they talk about relationships and who's dating who and stuff. And whenever I had to go to those areas, I just got my coffee or my drink, and I just went straight out. like realize where you should probably put some input and where you shouldn't, but also respect those differences. And they also didn't ask me to be a part of those conversations and all of those things, because that's how ladies like to work, and guys sometimes we like to slap each other on the back and whatever, right? But it's different. So realize the difference, but also work with the differences, but don't focus on the differences, because there are a lot more that we can collaborate together and work well together. And when it's time to work and you're like, do what we have to do, we do that together. When there are times where we should be separate, or they want to talk about more personal things, you can have that. And it doesn't mean that you also cannot have professional relationships with women or men within your office. That's also ridiculous, but it would emphasize the professionalism of all of that as well. So Betty is chiming in here, and she's saying that she loves your story, John, and it's an honor to be a guest on John's new venture. So you're doing great things. And Stephanie also shared that you meant to do good. Doesn't mean anyone is going to see that for you. Absolutely. So realize your potential, and we all live in the environment that enables us to see our faults and forget our skills. To John's point, the effort you put into something is typically matched in return. Wow, I couldn't have said it better. What about some of these viewers on the roundup? Man, Betty, we all know. Vanessa, we should probably have you as well be a guest on a future roundup if you're still there, but I might reach out to you a little bit after. So you're working at the Army base. What's next for John? What's John's next step?
I spent a lot of years at that hospital, and I learned a lot, because those who know me know that my heart is with cardiology. And this was a heart and lung hospital, and I learned a lot. I was doing medical records and auditing those medical records for completeness, and you get to see a lot. And that's where I actually picked up my love of cardiology, because it's the thing that I always tell people, like, if you want to learn coding, it's a personal decision as to what you want to do. This is a lifelong career. So when you ask people on LinkedIn or Facebook, like, where do I want to go? I'm like, that's a philosophical question. Like, why are you asking them? It's your life. So I always push people to, like, try other things. Look into other areas. What grabs your interest? And this grabbed my interest. So, like, from then, I'm like, well, I've learned this to the point I can do it in my sleep. I actually started consulting. I got a consulting job. I was there a little bit, and then I went to another hospital where I was like the only certified coder at that point. One of the only certified coders. They had another person who was certified but only did inpatient coding. They didn't have anybody that was skilled in any kind of surgical stuff. And they said, so they brought me on, and I was doing a lot of cardiac stuff. And they said, well, we need somebody that knows general surgery. And I said, well, I'll learn that. I'll take up that program, and I'll start learning general surgery, and I'll take a certification. Got that. They're like, well, now we need somebody that knows orthopedics. Okay, I did that. Got the certification, studied the program, and worked for orthopedics. And then they were like, well, now we need somebody that does cardiothoracic surgery. Oh, okay. You know what? I have like 10.
We need John to do this. We need John to do this, because you just kept on raising your hand, right?
Because it improved prove my worth, and they needed it. I filled the need, and that's sometimes what you need to do. It wasn't that I was the only man in the female office, and let's just put this on him. It's like I was the one that stepped up to the plate,
There you go.
uh, did what was needed, and reap the benefits. So, sometimes it's like you're only limited by how much you're willing to put out there of yourself.
There
It's
you go.
once you have that opportunity, take it and run with it.
There
Um,
you go.
there were some areas like when I said orthopedics, they're like, wow, that sounds really interesting. I think I would like that. And it turns out I don't love it as much as I thought I would, but that's okay because I did find something that I'm happy doing. And then again, I went back to the cardio, and that's something that to this day, like, you put a table full of work in front of me, and that's where I'm going first.
Mm,
Ortho is probably going to be very, very last, if at all. Um, but that's one of the reasons I do these webcasts, is because some people always ask, like, where do I want to be? Where do I want to work? I don't know, but here's how you find out. You know,
yes, yes, yes. That is
um,
awesome.
we
That's
do
awesome.
weekly. Yeah. So again, try different stuff. You'll find what you like. Um, eventually, so it might take years. I didn't really find my niche for like 5 years.
But you're trying different things while working within those, taking those opportunities within the office to get those certifications and become the subject matter expert on your team. And then you stumbled upon your specialty, and that was, you said, was it cardiothoracic?
No, it was just, well, overall cardio. Like
Okay.
I don't discriminate within that. I like cardiothoracic, interventional cardiology, non-invasive cardiology. Whatever it is, I'm happy doing it because it's pretty much all the same thing. And even urology, I consider urology to be a different form of cardiology. It's like an extension, and probably shouldn't draw the line there because there's also GI, gastrointestinal is related to cardiology because you know when we do digest food, it passes into the bloodstream. Same with urology. We filter out
Mm-hmm.
filter the blood through the kidneys. It becomes the urinary system. So, like,
Mm,
really, like, everything interconnects. So,
correct.
getting off a tangent, that's a little different story. But
No, no, no. You're fine. You're fine. The roundup is all about tangents because that's the naturalness in this. You have to realize also, audience, that this is not scripted, right? I think we had one or two scripted for CU credits and such, but we try to have these not be scripted because that's when you're really able to hear about some of these stories. I mean, even just me, whenever I go back to telling or sharing somebody a story or experience that I had, like I get choked up telling the story because I didn't realize, or I forgot some of those parts in coming out. So Barbara Shaw is also mentioned, so she's echoing what Betty said, and John, that you are awesome. So Christy said that John is amazing. So I saw Don had a question, but we're going to come to that in a second. So how did you go from what you're doing to consulting to getting some of these opportunities back as a permanent employee with the health system, to get some of the certifications, get more subject matter expertise, to being tapped onto the shoulder by the AAPC and some of these special committees?
so it, it wasn't it wasn't by chance, and
Mm,
I was very active on Facebook. I wasn't. I think I may have been on LinkedIn, but I think I was very active in a lot of the AAPC groups, and I see a lot of like groups out there. And AAPC has their own Facebook group and their own LinkedIn group. But like I would reach out to people, and like cardiology is one that most people like avoid or they have the most difficulty with, and I don't understand that. Not at all. It's beyond me as to why people have a hard time with it, but I would chime in, of my own free time and say, I'll answer your question. Here's this, this, and this, and I would respond to everything. And I
mm,
got noticed. Like one of the people from the APC, Mr. Craig Larson, like
yes.
he pulled me aside and said, "Listen, I love what you're doing, and
Hmm.
I think you can help us." So uh, he said, I'm willing to take this little class, little course, and we want to see if you would consider yourself to be a subject matter expert in your field. It's like, yeah, sure, I'll try it out, and before I know it, like
Mm,
I'm part of that AP subject matter expert, like kind of, I want to say community, because there's a lot of SMEs out there you wouldn't think. There's probably
Correct.
in the hundreds. Um, but we're out there, and it just takes getting noticed by being proactive, putting
Hmm.
yourself out there, making a name for yourself, but not for yourself. Like I didn't I didn't answer questions for my own notoriety. It's because I felt confident that I knew the answer. Someone needed an answer, and you put two and two together, and there's one problem solved.
Wow.
So again, it's if you and in turn helping others, put me in a good spot. You know,
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. That's another one. We got another diamond. We got another gem there. You said to put yourself out there, but not for yourself. Wow. I love that. Meaning you were on the forums, you're in the Facebook groups, you're on LinkedIn commenting on some of the specialties that you had great experience with, helping others, right? And in you helping others, the moderators and some of the decision makers at those associations, let's say the AAPC, took recognize that and reached out to you. And that's how you were able to get tapped onto the shoulder to be a panelist working with the APC and getting to know some of their upper management. I mean, and I'd say, let's give you kudos because you'd also really stand out for some of those individuals because you really are willing to put yourself out there, right? So, and helping others. And that's what this roundup is really all about. John and myself are both not compensated for our time here. We're just here to share and help others and to help people just realize how we can all really do this together and how revenue cycle really works together. But it's in him doing that others are able to get inspired, right? And others are able to see this. I mean, I have a lot of connections that happen to me. Let's say it happens to be males, and maybe they haven't considered, or from this may consider, oh, maybe revenue cycle. Maybe that's something that I can look into. Maybe you can try it, and maybe you can love it and become a subject matter expert yourself. So how do you find yourself assisting people, clients in general, in John, 2024?
yeah. Well, I have a real bad habit of not saying no to things, and it's just the way I am. Like I get messages on on social media and through text at like 5 in the morning. And like the first thing I do is like I spend like a 20-minute answer to somebody. That's
Mm,
a very blank question. Like it was this morning that one of the connected was having a hard time finding work, and they wanted advice. Like they were from I can't remember where they were from, but they were having issues with you know they had passed the test, they had the A, they can't get past the 3 year requirement for work. I'm like, well,
correct.
what do I do? So I gave my advice, and I do that a lot. In 2024, I don't think I'm not gonna step away from that. It's really my input. There's a lot of different levels of expertise out there, and everybody in this community fills different levels of different need. You have your high end, like your Terry Fletchers, your Stacey Bucks, your Jen McNamara's, that are working people that are experienced and have jobs, but are
Hmm.
that have high end problems. Like they need that really like kind of discrete kind of problem fixed, compliance stuff. And then you have your mid level, the ones that offer the education and ongoing stuff, things that are more geared towards different specialties, or but that aren't really that complex yet, like not down to like the key theories of coding.
Correct.
And then you have me, who's on the bottom, like just wants to see you find work. He wants to see you
Yeah,
in where you want to be. And then
correct.
we all have ways of progressing people from one stage to the next. So I don't think there's any reason for me to stop what I'm doing, change my pattern, because there's still going to be need this year, next year, the year after. This, like you said, it's a revenue
Correct.
cycle. We're always cycling through new people. People
Correct.
in the school. So there's always going to be a reason for me to give presentations on, general surgery versus cardiology versus pulmonary neurology.
Correct.
Just talk about topics and get people reinterested routinely as a cycle. I don't think I'm going to stop doing that.
Mm, there you go. There you go. And I loved how you just broke down. That's another gem. I love just how you broke down the 3 ways you can identify a subject matter expert. Because as you said, at the top level, folks like, like Jen, right, and Betty, they're dealing with very high level clients and also high level problems, right? we're not saying that you cannot reach out to these individuals if you have a coding issue, right? But these are at the very high level. I mean, they're talking to CEOs of these big provider groups, these big hospitals, and helping them within what they do. You have a lot of the educators at the second level, right? But then you are also going to have maybe some auditors or coders that can help, and they're more helping you from a, how can I say, more from from a production level as to where you're at, right? So hey, I'm a coder having a coding question, you're getting help from another coder or auditor, right? Versus seeking a lot of those answers directly from the educators or folks at the very high level. Yes, they can all help you, but kind of realize where your mentorship or where your expertise as to some of the issues you're having, as to where you can go, because we all have them. I mean, I have a mentor that has done probably everything that I'm trying to do right now years ago, but I'm not going to abuse our relationship for some of the little things that I need help with, right? Because that relationship is so sacred. Like, he's the kind of person I can call on if we really get to that level that we really make something big happen with a major organization. Like, he's the kind of person to help facilitate that. But I don't want to bother with some of the petty stuff. So when you have your mentors or the people that you can reach out to and ask things in confidence, also be careful not to abuse them in the mundane, right? And just take up a lot of their time. So doesn't mean they're not reachable, but you definitely want to be careful as to how you foster and take care of that relationship. So John, we're right at the 41st minute.
Wow.
I want to go to the questions, and I told you it was going to be that fast. I want to go to the questions real quick. We had Dawn that reached out and said she's finding it harder to get back into medical coding without having recent experience. So possibly this is someone that has worked within medical coding or within revenue cycle, and for whatever reason is now trying to come back, trying to get their foot back into the door, as most employers want at least 3 years of experience and a full credential CCS or CPC. John, we recently had a conversation about this, but what opportunities or suggestions do you may have for this individual trying to get themselves back within coding?
Well, again, there's always that 2 or 3 requirement, but there is such a need for them to fill the role. Sometimes they just want the right person. Some places, like you said, do require, and there's no questions asked. Our client will not accept anyone that has 2 experience. But some places, like, we just need to fill a seat, and we would like optimally to have somebody that has 2 years experience, has a bachelor's degree, has a high-end knowledge. But if we have somebody that can do the job, in the end, the output's all we care about. So sometimes that mentality is like, I can do the job. Yes, I don't have the 2 years, but I'm what you need. That's what employers want to see. And there are ways to kind of work around that. The APC has, they have programs where you can take an externship. They have Practicode, which is like a year's worth of experience. So then you're kind of taking that journey and you're making it 1 year shorter. You do Practicode, take a year off your time. Now you only have to worry about getting another year's of experience. And there's a lot of places that will offer that. There's a lot of risk coding roles that will hire new coders because they have a contract of like 800 people they need to fill.
That's true.
So there are ways, but you got to be focused about it. And there's always the opportunity. Like, let me apply to every single place. Yeah, that works, but then don't overwhelm yourself with, okay, I have to fill out 500 applications or else I'm going to fail. No, it only takes 1 application to be successful.
That's true.
So maybe narrowing your search and pinpointing what you're going to be successful in. And that's another thing. It's like, if you find a job, are you going to be happy doing this for 5, 10, 15, or 40 years?
Correct.
And that's going to also be a factor in your success. Yeah, you can take a job because you need the job, but if you're going to be miserable and not enjoy it, that job's not going to last very long, and your productivity is not going to be as good as they want it to be.
Fantastic. As much as individuals apply to opportunities and they're searching for opportunities, what I would ask anyone, if you're looking for an opportunity, whether you have an A or not, right? We have Carmen has a similar question. She found the content to be very beneficial. She has a passion for coding and searching for a role in coding. Any connections or advice is appreciated. She loves her roundups and she watches it on the big screen daily. Thank you. What I would say is, as much as you're applying, how much are you networking? All right. At those employers, are you trying to find those people on LinkedIn, or are you connecting with them? Are you trying to identify who the the hiring director might be, right? Who the hiring manager might be, who their HR is, right? And are you reaching to those people? Are you commenting on their posts? Are you sharing the things that they're sharing? Are you maybe even going to some of the conferences that they're going to? Because you know what I realized? It took me a long time, but I realized really your network is your net worth. Meaning, if you know a lot of the decision makers, or at least who those people are, that's what took me or broke like that's why it took me 3.5 years, because I didn't have any connections. I was just like, hey, what's going on? And back in I think it was '07 or whatever, '07, '08, like LinkedIn wasn't what it was today. LinkedIn was a separate company, wasn't a part of Microsoft. All of those things, it was small, right? And I was trying to do some of these strategies, but it wasn't really working. It wasn't until I talked to somebody that knew somebody at a company that was a peak performer that gave my resume and said, hey boss, you may want to look at this person. I heard they want to look for a recruiting job. And believe me, I got hired onto the floor that required 3 years of recruiting experience. All of the recruiters that didn't have experience, they went to the lead generation floor on the second floor. Nobody at the top floor, because at the top floor, it was sink or swim. If you didn't have 12 or so coders within 3 months, you were gone. And I had no experience. I didn't even know what a medical coder was a day in my life. But I got the opportunity. So I would say, and I would encourage everybody, connect with people like myself, right? Put your network out there. Really try your best to find out who the decision makers are and partake in their content, sharing their content, commenting to them, messaging them. And don't just be all needy, right? But be like, hey, what's up? I really appreciate what you did today, Bertrand. I really appreciate what you did today, John, Betty, Sonia, like all of these people, like comment on their stuff, like reach out to them. And you know what? If they may have an opportunity or know somebody that's hiring, and you just kind of like share, like, hey, if you happen to know anybody that's looking for an entry-level coder, I'm located in New Jersey. Feel free to share my resume or share my info. I'll always be here to support what you're doing. And you just do that to like 20 to 30 people a week. I'm telling you, you're not going to be searching for a job very long, because these people, we know people, right? So, John, any last words that you'd like to say for those that are able to see you on the roundup? And sorry, somebody said, Elizabeth says that she admires what you and Bertram, because you really went for what you wanted, and no one ever told me to start coding until she came to North Carolina. She began in peds and now family meds, and she started at the front desk. Ladies and gentlemen, you can get involved in medical coding, not even involved in revenue cycle. Get hired at that facility, start talking to the coders, the managers, tell them you're going through your program, or you may even be credentialed. And believe me, it's much easier to get in the kitchen if you're already in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, man. Any last words, John?
Yeah, if you have it in mind that you want to do this, there's ways to get to your end goal. And it might take a while, it might take some maneuvering, and there's no right or wrong way.
Correct.
Your way. If you ask others for help and how they do it, they're going to give you they're going to give you their answer. But in the end, it's going to be your journey. They say, you want to learn risk coding, that's the place to be, or you want to learn inpatient coding, that's the place to be. That's the place to be for them. You really need to take like an inner look at yourself to see
Correct.
what exactly you want to be. And that's it. You can't
self-actualization. Yep.
Yeah. You can't take someone else's dream and make it your own.
Wow. John, we love and appreciate you. Thank you, my brother from another mother in New Jersey. I'm still here in Florida. I don't think I'm moving anytime soon. But I definitely know that we should connect at one of these conferences, health cons, and all of those things. So, John, we appreciate you. Thank you, man. And we'll talk to you again soon, okay?
All right.
All right, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye. Wow. So Elizabeth said, the best place to go is to conferences, ladies and gentlemen. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Because think about it. If we're all at a conference, not myself, but let's say all of you are at conferences and you're looking for your first coding position, it's likely you have your credentials or a credential, you have a resume, and you're looking for the next opportunity. A lot of the people that are decision makers at these conferences, or they may even be in the audience, right? One of my top connections that I met at a conference, she was just in the audience. She wasn't even like a secretary or treasurer. She wasn't doing anything with the local group, but she was attending, getting the CEs, but also staying in the know as to what's going on within her industry. And she is the senior director at a 12-hospital system here in Florida, the largest employer in Florida. This was somebody that I just met in the audience. And I didn't even happen to realize this, right? I was networking with them. Hey, it's good. Cool, cool, cool. I'll see you later. Come 2 years later, I'm going through my Rolodex calling people, and she happens to be one of those individuals. And I'm like, hey, how are you doing? Hey, Birchman, how are you doing? Is this you now? Like, are you at this position? Because when I connected with her, she was just the associate director. She wasn't the full senior director. She's like, no, Bertram, like, I talked to you, and yeah, it happened. I got promoted. Like, here I am. I'm like, wow, look at that. The person I needed to talk to was in my Rolodex the whole time. But I wasn't ready for the relationship or us working together at that time. I was when we reconnected most recently, So that's the thing about networking. It's like any other type of seed. You got to have a lot of seeds out there if you're going to want opportunities in the future. And that's why one of the things that I love to do with these roundups is that I'm networking with the speakers. I'm networking with the audience. I'm not saying that I'm going to hire everybody or I'm going to recruit everybody for our organization. No. But in these collaborations and in these relationship building sessions that we have, we're able to hopefully work together in the future and help the audience at the same time. Okay. So I have work calling me. I'm going to be finishing up here in 10 or so minutes. So for those who are still on the roundup, thank you for being a part of it. So I want to bring to the stage the vendor spotlight of The Qualified. The Qualified is an organization that helps you with your CEs, or if you're needing to, let's say, take a workshop to get your CCS, let's say HEMA APC, also HIMSS credentials. So they actually have a 10% discount for anyone that reaches out to them. Just let them know that the roundup sent you. That discount is passed straight to you. We don't get any kickback. We don't want any kickback. We want all that savings to go to you. Any other profits go to the organization. They're a local business to myself in Florida. So anything that you can do to work with Dr. Sabri and her team, I've connected with a lot of people on that team. They have a lot of subject matter experts too. Go to The Qualified, go to the people on their About Us section, and you can just connect with all of those people on LinkedIn because they're some top line people. But feel free to reach out to them if you happen to need that. A lot of their customers tried by themselves to pass that credentialing exam, failed, hired them, and then they were able to pass it. So we're not saying that you can't do it by yourself, but if you're realizing that you may need to check your skills or whatever, feel free to reach out to The Qualified. As I said, that discount goes straight to you. Okay. This is where we're going to share open jobs and opportunities from people in my network that I've seen. I do not know about these requirements as terms as to they can only hire local, years of experience. That's really all on you, but please reach out to them and hopefully they can help you, okay? But these are the jobs that I'm going to be sharing on this week. So we have Jimmy. Jimmy is looking for a leader in risk adjustment. I have heard about some of the rumblings about a massive layoff within the, the risk adjustment space. So if you happen to have management experience or led people, you probably want to reach out to Jimmy. We have Janet. Janet's also looking for somebody for Tampa General that could work as a training consultant for a team at Tampa General. And this is one of the things I love to share as well. Even if this may not be one of the positions you're looking for, if these individuals have shared jobs before, what do you think they're going to do in the future? Share more jobs. So connect with these people as well. All right. Tell me some up. Okay. Jean Marie is looking for a CPC coder. I don't know if it's still open, but connect with her. Myra Phillips says that Joyce is looking for an HIM coder. As you can see, not everyone is has the title, let's say coder or just medical coder. Sometimes it's health information clerk. So look at those different types on there as well that you can apply for. Shannon is looking for coder level 2. Cherie is looking for a profi coder, and these are some new ones. Kamila Boyd, she shared that on Indeed she saw a coder level 1 position, and Julio shared he works with Humana that they are looking for an HCC coding and CDI provider consultant. So maybe one of the areas that a lot of these risk adjustment or HCC coders can consider are working for the payers directly, right? On that side of the house. Come to think of it, you're probably doing that work anyway, right? You're just working through a vendor versus working directly with the payer. So that's something for you to consider. All right, cool. All right, so for the Ask Mr. B section, I got a question most recently about follow-up. So, hey, Bertram, I had an interview, but I haven't heard. They said that I was going to meet with the director and all of these things. When should I follow up? I think a good best practice for anyone is to get the email addresses of the people that you've interviewed with, and always send a thank you email within 24 hours. Preferably that day or right after that interview would be fantastic. Hey, Bertram, thank you for talking with me today. I love to learn about the inpatient coding opportunity. You have a renowned talent. I believe my 5 years of experience and all my credentials and experience with Epic and all these things at major teaching trauma hospitals, that'll be a good fit for your team. Here's my contact information. Feel free to reach out and keep me posted about the next steps at any time. And then give it a week. And then follow up again if you're awaiting the next steps. Because it's almost like dating, ladies and gentlemen. If they're truly interested in you and they can't get you out of their mind, they're going to find you. They're going to reach out to you. I like those thank you emails because if you've shared your contact information, your phone numbers, and they still don't reach out, it's safe to say maybe they are pursuing other candidates. But after a week of you not hearing anything, just reaching out, hey, Bertram, I just wanted to see how things are going. If there are any updates. And at that time, if you haven't really heard anything, you just got to go on to the next opportunity, okay? You have to realize that organizations are living, breathing, and changing organisms. So that inpatient coding need today could change at any time. It can change tomorrow. It can change a week from now. Staying in touch with them and being professional is always what you want to do. Don't like take the bad road and like stalk them on LinkedIn, for example, right? Or like call them every day and all these things. So I think it's best to be professional, but also realize when you should step away and just keep on putting good out there. One of the worst things you can do is burn bridges within an industry because it is a very small industry, ladies and gentlemen. So once you do follow up, I'd say give it a week, but within the first 24 hours of interviewing with anyone, talk to the recruiter today, email them today. Talk to the director or manager in 2 days from then, get that manager's email. Don't bug them, but just send them a thank you email. If they don't want to give you their email, ask the recruiter, your point of contact, hey, can I send it to you? You just forward it to them. Just do that, and then that'll be it, okay? But it's always appreciated, and it's also make sure that they have your contact information. That way, if they've lost it or they can't find your resume, at least they can reach back up to you or keep you posted about the opportunity. But things change all the time, and just be open and cognizant of that, okay? Cool. So for the talent showcase, I didn't really see many people sharing that that they need or that they're vastly open for opportunities. Just going to the comments really quick. So Dawn says that she was furloughed as the department was outsourced. She could only find a job in PAS at a local emergency room. Okay. She started back studying for a CPC. So keep us posted on your progress. You know, if you apply some of the things that were shared today, I'm telling you, it's not going to be long before you let us know that you're also hired after attending the roundup. Carmen says good stuff. Carmen also says that she wishes the local chapters did more in-person meetings instead of virtual. That is going to be happening. I think after COVID, we've all just gotten a lot more comfortable in doing them virtually. But if an in-person meeting is something that you would like, why don't you ask that during your next virtual meeting? Hey, what about we do an in-person meeting? And, you know, could we do a survey about that and see how that can happen? Sometimes it takes them even finding a venue as to where they can have it, right? And if there's a local school or organization that's willing to sponsor that, or there's a place that they can have that. So there are a lot of things that they have to work out, but it's a really good practice just to kind of like, you know, reach out to them and figure that out, okay? All right. We have Michelle for the candidate showcase. So she's a CPCA. She's in South Carolina. She's trained in both inpatient and outpatient coding. And if you are a hiring manager or recruiter that are looking for an opportunity, feel free to reach out to her. Now, our next roundup is scheduled next week at noon, and we're going to be having Stacey Bucks. So Stacey Bucks is going to be sharing with us all about getting specialized or the benefits of being a specialized within industry or a subject matter expert. And I believe her subject matter expertise are interventional radiology. But I think it would be great for us to talk about the benefits of that, because maybe instead of just being a multi-specialty person, let's say you can do all things, or jack of all trades, Jane of all trades, maybe specialty work can be fantastic for you. That way you can make a name for yourself within that. So that's what our next roundup is. So really love and appreciate everyone. Thank you for attending the roundup. It was great to be here today. And there's a lot of things I have to do professionally for work, so I'm going to get going. But I appreciate each and every one of you, and we'll see you on our next roundup. Bye-bye.